Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another Her Wild Outdoors episode. Today, my friend Maranda Hough is joining me from Montana. You are in Montana right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. We live in kind of like south central Montana. Yep.
Yeah. You guys travel so much that I'm like, am I catching you at home? Am I catching you on the road? And I love following your adventures with your family, with your husband and the dogs. And it's just a fun, I don't know. I love checking in and seeing where you guys are and what you're doing. And it's exciting.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Yeah. We're home for a short little stint. Actually, my husband is out hunting and I'm home with the dogs right now, but I'll be joining him later this week. So I'm excited.
Good. Sometimes we have to draw that straw, that small straw, the short one, in order to stay back in the back. But it is fun getting out there. I'm glad you're going to get to do that. I do want to kind of let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and how you are passionate about the outdoors and about what we do here. And so give us just a little bit of a background on you.
Yeah. So I grew up in a family that pretty much every weekend we were off to go hunting or off to go camping or off to ride dirt bikes or off to go fishing. So I was fortunate to have a dad that had like endless amounts of energy. And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you guys do this?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so we were always on the go. You know, if we had something come up and we were supposed to go to school, my parents never hesitated to call us out of school to go on adventures. And so anyways, I grew up in the outdoors. I always loved it, but I don't think I truly appreciated it until after I moved to the East Coast to go to college. I went to college in Maryland. And I really only got to come home for like a week or two during the summertime to see my family and hopefully go on a like hike or backpacking trip. So while I was off at college, I really kind of like realized, you know, I really miss that lifestyle. And so, you know, growing up, I had the opportunity to learn how to Western hunt from my dad. And I was able to harvest several pretty nice mule deer, a nice bull elk, lots of antelope, lots of does, lots of waterfowl. And like I said, I didn't truly appreciate it until it was kind of gone. And so anyways, after I moved back to Montana after college, I actually spent a couple summers up in Alaska guiding fishing trips. And from that, I realized that I really loved the service industry. I loved, you know, helping other people, you know, reel in their first fish or see, you know, a salmon for the first time or catch their first fish on a fly rod. So that was a really cool experience for me. And that kind of segued into when I moved back to Montana full time. I really started diving into, I felt pretty confident with my fishing on my own, but I wanted to really dive into Western hunting on my own, and not necessarily on my own, but feeling like I was competent to go out with other people and not just my dad, and feel like I was actually contributing to the hunt and not just along for the ride or not just there for somebody else to guide me necessarily. So
I get that.
Yeah.
There's a sense of empowerment to it. And I don't care if you're a man or a woman, being able to stand on your own 2 feet and not be dependent, it is a good feeling. And being able to help somebody else is also a great feeling. So I get that.
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of realized that, you know, when I started hunting on my own again, or you know, maybe hunting with girlfriends or hunting with some of the guy friends I met over the years, I started to realize that while my dad helped me have so many amazing opportunities, he didn't really like teach me how to be like sufficient on my own, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like I was completely relearning how to hunt again.
Yeah.
Obviously I had like gun safety and I knew how to shoot a bow and I kind of knew how to use glass and I was very good at hiking. But I definitely lacked the skill set and the confidence to be able to, end up on a ridge in the mountains and know what to do if I saw an animal. So, or even find the animals. I think finding animals is honestly the hardest part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I believe it.
Yeah. So anyways, I kind of just took it upon myself and volunteered myself as a pack mule and as somebody who was just coming along to like maybe film or take photos, or I'd go into the local archery shop and ask like the 70-year-old men that were there that had hunted for like, 60 years.
Yes.
Like there was a lot of people that were like very open and excited to help me learn. And I just definitely put myself out there because from the outside looking in, there was a lot of people that just thought I was like this badass hunter, but little did they know, I really honestly didn't know what I was doing. And so I had to definitely take a slice of humble pie and say like, okay, like I actually want to learn, like somebody help me learn actually what I'm doing. And it would have been really cool if that could have been my dad, but my dad has actually he hasn't really grown tired of big game hunting. He just doesn't really enjoy it for himself anymore. He's more of a waterfowl hunter now. And so I couldn't really like ask my dad to teach me. So it definitely had to go out and ask other people, which was a great experience because I feel like when you learn from multiple different people, you learn multiple different styles and you can kind of pick and choose from what you like and what you don't like. And
I agree. I think the more people that you surround yourself with and like what you said, stepping out and asking to be a part, not asking to hunt, but asking to be a part of a hunt is such a great way of transitioning from being a child, being a teenager, growing up in it and being led to then switching over to an adult mindset and taking it on as your own. And so you say humble pie, but it's actually, there's a lot of strength in being able to ask for help. And I think that you have to lower that pride level, but it actually shows more strength in saying, hey, show me how to do this. I want to do it right. I want to do it well. And I applaud you for it. I think that that's great.
Yeah, thanks. No, I am so glad that I went through that season of, I think there was like maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 seasons where I really didn't hunt for myself much, or where I didn't really, I might have shot like a decent deer, or I might have shot an antelope. But this past season was the first season where I basically filled every single one of my tags, and a couple of them were on my own, like solo. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
It's been really cool to see the evolution and to see, honestly, just myself, like finally have the confidence. Like that's the biggest thing for me, is being able to go out there and like feel like I actually have a chance to, get on an animal, make a stalk, have a great harvest or make a great shot and harvest the animal. And feel like I am confident enough to not second guess myself.
Yeah. It's like Lindsay Persico. Do you know Lindsay? She's Hunt Fiber on the Instagrams, but she said on a podcast once, she said, it's amazing to be able to go out and write your own story, to be able to make those decisions on which way you are going, and then take the consequence, whether it's good or bad, of what that decision was. And so at least going into it, when you make that decision when you're solo, even if it doesn't pan out, you go, okay, I made that decision. This is why I made that decision. This is why it worked, or this is why it didn't work. And I'm going to now be able to make a different decision next time, or base it on if it worked or if it didn't work, continuing on with making that kind of decision. And I think that that means a lot in writing your own story. Being able to do that, there's nothing wrong with hunting with people. There's nothing wrong with hunting solo. I wouldn't level one up over the other. It's different. But being able to write that story, being able to make that decision and go, okay, why am I making this decision? Is it because of this, this, or this? Is it going to work? It just adds some excitement to it. And when it does pan out, you're like, heck yeah, that just happened. And it was because I made that decision. And I don't want anybody to hear me in saying that it's prideful. I think that there's a good sense of, like you said, confidence in it. There's a good sense of, there's good pride and there's bad pride. And I think that you can be very proud of yourself for doing something without it going into the negative side of pride. And so being able to walk away and say, I did that. I did it by myself. Look what came of it. And I'm proud of myself for doing it. That's where that confidence comes from. And it only comes from experience, negative and positive.
Yeah. And I think, like, for me too, you know, the outdoors in general has always presented a challenge for me. And I can't tell you the amount of times where I've been like, where I've realized how much I'm truly capable of.
Yes.
And I think that so many people miss out on finding out what they're truly made of or what they're truly capable of because they don't put themselves in positions to be challenged or to be pushed. And that goes for, like, every area in life. It doesn't have to be hunting or outdoor related, but, like, I cannot tell you how many people, I would say definitely most of people never really do anything in life that proves to them how much they're capable of. Yeah. And for me, that's what I live for. Like, I think that those experiences, they bring me closer to God. They bring me closer to who I am at my core. They help me reprioritize what's really important in life. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of why this tradition and why this lifestyle is so important to me. But I think everybody should find that one thing in their life that challenges them and forces them to find out what they're actually made of, because
it's important.
It's a really good thing to have.
Yeah. I think that you've said it multiple times now when talking about getting ready for Western hunting. You kind of have to take yourself to that level of suck and then push through it. And it is where you go, I can't do it anymore, and you keep going. Because when you're out there, like you have said and like others have said, you can't get to a stopping point and just stop, or it's never going to come to fruition, or you're not going to respect the animal that you just took if you have to stop. There's nothing wrong with resting and taking a break and keeping on going, but saying I'm done, I can't do it anymore, that's disrespecting not only the work that you've put in, but it's disrespecting the animal that you've taken the life of. You've got to push through. You've got to push past that, whether it's with adrenaline or it's just with the I'm going to do it and just pushing into the hurt of it. And I think that creates the character that you're striving for. It's the I'm not going to stop when it gets uncomfortable. I'm not going to stop when I can't breathe. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to just push through it, because that's how you take steps forward instead of staying stagnant. And I love that. Well, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. You've said it a couple of times. I've heard of a couple of other people say it, but it's whether it is the difference between staying on a treadmill or a climbing machine or pushing through weights that much harder through each time, or you're out on the mountain and it's life and death. like that's what you're prepping for, and that's what you need to do.
Yeah. And I think, for me, the gym obviously is about health, but um, the gym allows me that place every single day to go and to practice that mental
Yeah.
toughness. Because there's not a whole lot of places you can find that. I mean, there's things like, do you sleep in through your alarm every day? If you can learn how to just get up, even though you might be tired, or even though you might not be ready to get up, if you do that day in and day out, that builds mental toughness. If you go to the gym and you do 20 minutes on the treadmill and you're like, man, like if I cut this 5 minutes short, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. But you decide, no, I'm going to finish out that last 5 minutes. That builds mental toughness.
Yeah.
If you, are on the squat rack and you're squatting however much you squat and you're like, man, that was easy. Like you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't throw some more weight on and do one more set. So that's kind of like the mindset and the lifestyle that I've tried to adopt. And I can't tell you how many times. It's funny too, because I hunt with my husband and his friends quite a bit. I can't tell you how many times I have been in worse shape than all of them, but I have been the first one to make it up the mountain purely because I just have that don't quit mindset. And people aren't born with it, it's built. So anybody can adopt it. It just takes day in and day out practice.
Yeah. And you can start, like you said, these are things that you can apply whether you are hunting, fishing, working out, in your day job, like whatever you are applying it to. It's kind of like, what is it? Make your bed in the morning. Just get up and push through that alarm and don't sleep through it, and then make your bed. And that is setting yourself up for, look, you've already accomplished 2 things on your to-do list that is pushing you forward. You're not going to get back in your bed. It's made. You're not going to close your eyes because the alarm's off and you've got things to do. And if you can just start your day off with that, then you're pushing forward into those goals. And the more you knock off those goals of the day, the better you feel, honestly. So even if your one accomplishment in the day is to not sleep through the alarm and to make your bed, you've accomplished it. And sometimes there are days when that's all you can do. If we're talking about mental health, there are so many days that I can go, and I've got all these things I've got to do, and it feels good to get them done. But there has to be a day of rest. And even on those days of rest where you're letting your body recover or you're letting your mind recover, you still can get up at the alarm and you can get up and make your bed. And I think that I love how, some of the most successful people in our world, they get up and they make their bed. So if that's all you can do today, people, is get up and make your bed, do it. It doesn't take much, but it is mental. It does not take a whole lot of physical strength to make your bed, but it is a good mental step in the right direction of a day. And then keep going, keep pushing through. I love that. I love that you bring that up a lot about mental toughness. And it has stood out to me because you and I met at TAC here in Tennessee. And I was like, who is this girl? Who is this? I think I had my daughter with me the first time I saw you. And we were like, who is this? And just then looking through your stuff, because we didn't have great service up there. But afterwards, looking through your stuff, I was like, dude, this girl's cool. I wish I could have had some more time to just sit down and chat. And I don't know. I was very impressed and encouraged by your messages. So thanks for being out there.
My goodness. No, I kind of knew who you were because I'd had a couple of friends that had been on the podcast, but I was so excited to meet you in person. And hopefully next year,
Yes.
I don't know if you're planning on going again, but hopefully next year we can connect again.
Yes. And I think that
Oh,
it's, hmm go ahead.
and this fall, hopefully when you're in Montana, we can connect too.
Yes. I'm very excited about that trip. But I have been following a lot of women who are doing that kind of life and doing it well. And I think that that's a part of I don't know if it's psyching myself up for it because, coming from Tennessee where our elevation is nil to over there with the terrain and everything, it is a little bit intimidating. It's a lot intimidating. And so, I don't know, getting encouragement and getting advice and working for it, it makes a difference having women in your life who are doing it and doing it well. So thank you. I love that my daughter can watch that too and can have other women in her life, not just me, but other women in her life who do it in a way that it is respectful and it is, I don't know. I wouldn't ever fear her looking at any of your stuff. And so that's a huge compliment.
No, that means so much to me. And I can't remember, it must have been a couple years ago now, probably around the time, I think it was actually around the time that I actually met my now husband. I heard this quote, and I think it was from Jim Shockey. I can't remember exactly who it was from, but I think it was Jim Shockey. And he was basically talking about how, hunters, in order to preserve the lifestyle and preserve the tradition and preserve basically conservation, we need to be very careful about how we're presenting ourselves, especially today with social media.
Yes.
Because we, even though not everyone is anti-hunter, there are still people out there who may have not already formulated an opinion. And I can't tell you, there have been multiple people that have reached out to me who were vegans or maybe had no idea about hunting but didn't really love the idea of it, that came to me and said wow, this is actually so cool, and I feel like I can watch what you're doing and not have a bad taste in my mouth about it.
Yeah.
And they're just thank you for showing me what it's really like, and not just the bloody, gory game or sport of it. Because yeah, I mean, that quote several years ago, probably 3 years ago, really stuck with me. And I was like, wow, I have to be so careful about what I put out there. Not because I necessarily am trying to only bring out the light of what's happening, but because I want those people who are not 100% understanding of the lifestyle or the tradition to have a positive first impression, or have a positive idea of what it's actually like. Because for me, I mean, we just talked about my dogs before we got on this call. I'm an animal lover. I love animals probably more than most people do. And that would include anti-hunters. And so it's not an easy task for me to go out and take, an animal's life. I feel a great sense of remorse every time I do it, but at the same time, I have a huge appreciation for, an ethical shot, and, the animal living an entire life, free and in the wild, and then, dying without being in pain. That to me is about as ethical as it can get. And, that's important to me. So I just hope that my platform can be modest, can be, motivational, inspirational, something that young girls can watch, but also that if an outsider who, maybe came to follow me for something related not to hunting,
Yeah.
I would pray that they would be able to watch my feed and really learn what this is all about from
Right.
somebody who really takes pride in this way of life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Olivia Opry and I were talking about that on a podcast about how we have had to evolve as hunters in presenting what we do. And it's because, back in the day when you had Polaroids of your hunt and of your trophy, whether your trophy was for meat or your trophy was for the size or whatever you were hunting, I think that it used to be the photo that was at the hunt club or in your home or in your wallet, but it wasn't out there for the world to see. And so you did have those grip and grins, and you did showcase things that you wouldn't necessarily show the rest of the world. You would show the people that are in your community that value and understand it. And so as we have evolved into sharing our entire lives on a global internet availability of photos, it does draw that sense of responsibility. Who is looking at your stuff? Who does have access? How could it be used against you? It is a way that we're not holding back. It is just we are trying our best to present it in a way that can be utilized for good and not for bad. And I think that that's what you should apply to anything you're showcasing on the internet. What good comes from it, what bad can come from it. And those are just those checks. I'm teaching a photography class this weekend in Missouri, and it's, how to use your camera, how do you use it manually, how stop taking a billion digital pictures, focus on doing it right, slow it down, like those kind of things. But one of the major topics is ethically posting pictures. And I think that's something that has to be talked about in our community. And if you don't talk about it, and if you don't think about it, I think it shows a little bit of disrespect, or at least not thinking of others. And it just shows compassion, and it shows self-control, and it shows your motives behind it when your actions back up what you're talking about. So continue doing it. I think that it makes a difference. We talk about consistently on here about the role that women have in our community, whether you're backpacking, whether you're an angler or a hunter, whatever position you are in this industry and in this community, as a woman, we do have the ability to meet people and have conversations that a man just won't have the opportunity to do. And so evolving in the right way of how you are presenting it is so important to continue those conversations and to do those conversations well and respect people for where they are, not for where you want them to be.
Yeah. 100%.
I think we forget that.
Love it.
I think we forget that you're a non-hunter until you are a supporter of hunting or anti-hunting. And we have to reach people on that level, on a non-hunting level, not on a hunting level, because that's foreign to someone who has never been in it before. So if the first thing that they see is blood and guts, what is that going to do? How is that going to impact their decision on supporting our community or being against it. And it's just something that I carry in the back of my head every single day. Whatever I post, whatever I say, whatever conversation is had, that is just the filter that it has to go through.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so crazy too, because I kind of relate that. You know, I've obviously grown up my entire life hunting and doing this kind of stuff. But one thing that I've never done, it has like hunted with dogs or like hog hunted or anything like that. And, you know, there's for a while I had kind of like this idea in my head that, you know, that way of hunting was unethical or whatever. But I've met so many, you know, houndsmen and houndswomen, and people who hunt with dogs over the last couple of years. And they've really shown me, you know, how it works and how, you know, why it can be ethical and all that kind of stuff. Of course, in any kind of hunting, there's always going to be those people that are just not ethical hunters. They don't practice fair chase. Like, they're not concerned about how other people feel about what they're doing. I have found that those people do exist, but luckily most of the time they're not the ones presenting themselves publicly. So you know,
it's good to shine light on the good part of it. Last year was the first time I hunted over dogs, and it was a rabbit hunt. And I was you would be the same way. I was so afraid to take a shot because I thought I was going to shoot a dog. And that's the biggest fear. It happens. And I could not carry that on my conscience. And so it was my hesitation. I mean, I never was able to take a shot. I didn't have a rabbit come into my lock zone of where I was going to shoot. But I don't know if I would have missed out of hesitation or if I would have. It would be neat to try it again now, having experienced it. But let me tell you, I was so busy watching those dogs work. I think my mouth was open the whole time, like, that's amazing.
I know.
Just watching their joy and watching how it's the passion behind what that dog has it's in their DNA of what they do, and they don't stop until they're made to stop. And it was incredible to watch it. I hope I get to do it again this year. It was just, I could have walked without a gun and been completely happy. I'd love to take a rabbit over some beagles at some point, but it was an incredible experience. And again, I was kind of like you. I don't understand how. I mean, I had talked to Jen Cubbage, who is out in South Carolina, and she hunts hogs with her dogs. And I'd had those conversations, and I support those hunters, like you said, that do it right. But I just never thought, I don't know if I could do that, or if I want to do that, or if it's just always circling in your head. And seeing people do it right and do it well, it draws me in just a little bit more.
Yeah. And, you know, I think, too, a lot of the people that run dogs, and I don't know how this conversation took this
I know.
But I think a lot of people that run dogs, a lot of times they don't even actually, like, shoot any animals while they're running dogs.
Right.
Especially with, like, cats and stuff like that.
You wait.
And bears, a lot of times they just run them out of, you know, a farmer's property or rancher's property. A lot of times they're, you know, just getting them back to where they belong instead of, you know, encroaching in on people's spaces. And that was like one thing I learned. I'm like, okay, so like
there are multiple
cat
reasons.
Hunting isn't always about killing the cat. Sometimes it's literally about relocating the cat. So I think it's really cool to just.
It's multifaceted. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, super cool. But
Yeah.
I would love to experience it too. I think we talked about this earlier, but I grew up waterfowl hunting, and my dad has always had duck dogs, and you're totally
Mm-hmm.
right. Like, it's inspiring to watch them because they just love it so much, and it's like,
Yes.
okay, like I need to have a little more excitement in my life too, you know, like this
Yeah.
dog is like, this is what it
Shaking.
lives for, and I
Yes.
claim that this is what it lives for.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very inspiring to watch them.
We talk a lot about with waterfowl hunting, whether
So
it's goose hunting or duck hunting or whatever it is. I've always enjoyed having a dog on the hunt, and I don't. I talk a lot about how waterfowl hunting is so great to step outside of if you're a solo hunter or, deer hunting, big game hunting, but stepping into the waterfowl world. I think everybody should try it because it is so different. It's social. It is
mm-hmm.
it's 100% different. But then add a dog, and I'm in. If you've got a dog and you're going waterfowl hunting, I'm there. I will put out all the decoys. I will I volunteer as tribute for doing all of the mucky work. Just to be able to be a part of that. It's just a blast seeing them work. And I don't know. I'm going to try to get our puppy on some blood this year to try to see if she can track. And it'd be great to have her be able to do that. But, you never know until you get a dog out to see if they can do that. But it'd be interesting. I've had a Maltese track a deer before. It's just innate in them, I would guess. But yeah, I don't know how we got off on this tangent. You and I both love our pups so much that it was just, it went there. It did.
It's hard for me to have a conversation if I can't talk about my dog.
It's true. I do have a question for you. And I ask this question of both men and women that are on this podcast. I like to ask it because I don't know, I guess I'm keeping a tally, and one day when I write a book, it'll be a part of that. But I'm wondering, along the way of you learning, I know that your dad was a huge impact in you as a child, but did you have any women who were in the outdoors, either growing up or coming back in as an adult, being independent, any female mentors in the outdoor community that you have been able to follow along and learn from?
Yeah. So nobody like directly, like nobody in person.
Mm-hmm.
But there were several women that I like followed on social media who really inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
I can name a few of them. Christy Titus is one of my friends, and I was kind of like a girl of hers for many years, but
Mm-hmm.
her and I have kind of connected over the last few years through a mutual friend from Montana Silversmiths. And so we got to sit down and hang out together, and she has definitely been a mentor of sorts to me. And I just honestly like watching her. She is one of the ones in the industry who tells the story, who shows, shines light on the respectful way to present yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Teaches, I love what she does because it's how I would want to present myself. So she's definitely been a role model. And then Jana Waller from Schoolbound TV.
Yes.
I really like her too. And my dad actually introduced me to her TV show and stuff like that when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I think it was high school. It might have been older than that. But yeah, so those two women, and it's funny because they're actually friends.
Yeah. I love Jana. Absolutely love her. I love, anyway, both of them. I didn't grow up in a hunting community. We've said that before, but growing as an adult into this community, it's pretty easy it's pretty easy to iron out who is real and who is not. And even speaking to people like you and a couple of other people that I've had on, Jana has been a huge impact in their lives, just from an encouraging standpoint of, you can do this, and this is why. And I think that I met her through, who was it? Kylie McRae. Do you know who Kylie is?
If I like saw her face or maybe her
You
Instagram,
would probably.
but
So she is younger. She's, I think she started college this year. I think so, unless she's a senior this year. Kylie, I'm sorry if I mess it up. I apologize. But when I had a conversation with her, I think she was 12 when she got her first turkey grand slam. And I think she's had 7 or 8 since then. Like, she's pretty stinking amazing. But when I said, who is somebody that you look up to, Jana was one of those women. And I love that in talking to women growing up back in the day, some of them, when they were looking for inspiration, it was hard finding women who hunted because all you saw were pictures of models, because they didn't necessarily back then use real women who hunted as the figure for a magazine or whatever. They were models. And so women looked, and girls, I should say girls, looked at these models and said, I don't look like that. That's not what I look like. Can I be a hunter? Can I be like, if you've got strong mentors in your life, they're going to be able to say, no, that's just a model. But if you don't, and you're by yourself, do I look like that? I don't look like that. Where are people who look like me? And I think that over the past, I would say 15 years, you have more access to real female hunters who look completely different from each other, and yet they have the same goals and the same mindset and the same respect. And I think that people like you and people like Jana and people like Kylie, even, like, it pushes the demographic of what female hunters have to look like out the door. And you can look, you can wear full makeup, you can wear no makeup, you can be a kid, you can be all different shapes and sizes and be out there doing what you love. And I think that has, I kind of did a big, huge squirrel run on that, but it is going back to mentors these days. When you find the real ones and you find the authentic ones, you will also find women that you can not compare yourself to, but that you can relate to. And that's what's important.
Yeah. And I'll be completely honest, you know, even 5, 6, 7 years ago, you know, not so much with Christy and Jana, because I thought that they were like seriously so far beyond where I could ever imagine myself being, which is hilarious.
Yes.
But like the girls that were like my age or maybe a little bit older, or maybe had just gotten into hunting, I would see their success and I'd be like, why can't that be me? Like, I would get jealous sometimes. I would decide that I didn't like them because they were more privileged, you know, all the funny things that go through your head.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the line, maybe it came with maturity, or maybe it just came with, you know, experiencing my own success on my own timeline. But it was like, no, if there's somebody out there doing something that you want to do, that means it's possible for you to do it too. And so, you know, you see these women, you know, that can blow a duck call or a goose call really well. And you're like, man, like, I can't do that. For me, I've had to make that mindset switch of, I'm like, if somebody impresses me, I'm going to go figure out how to do that. And then, I mean, use it as inspiration. And
Yeah.
so, that's been a tough mindset switch to make. But for me, it's been so freeing because
Mm-hmm.
now I can go actually genuinely be excited for somebody else's success or compliment somebody on their elk calling or their duck calling or whatever, and just be like, that's super impressive. Like, tell me about how you learned how to do that.
Yes.
So yeah, that comparison game, I've experienced it.
It's not
I've
fun, and it's
experienced
really
it.
lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it goes on a lot still today. I
Yeah.
think it always will.
Mm-hmm.
And, it sucks too when it's coming from the other side, when somebody which I'm sitting here going like, why would anybody be jealous of me? Because if they actually knew what I've been through,
Right.
they probably wouldn't be jealous. But recently, I had somebody make a comment publicly on my social media page that I knew came from some sort of sense of, I don't know if it was jealousy or insecurity or what it was. But I was able to recognize that because I lived through it myself, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I might not have like commented publicly, but I would have probably had those feelings internally. So,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me sad to see. And I really hope that that's something that, um, I really hope that that's something that, women like yourself and myself and those Christys and Jannas of the world, I really hope that we can start to paint a different picture and
Yeah.
show, there's a different way. Like, if you want to do something, like, I'd love to help you learn. Like, I'd
Yeah.
love to go through this with you. Um, I'd love to be a resource, or I'd love to, I don't know, learn from something from you too. So
Right.
I don't know. It's
It is it's a mindset shift, and I think it happens, hopefully it happens for everybody, but it doesn't necessarily. And it can happen with you at a young age, depending on who you surround yourself with, or it can happen at an older age when you kind of get to that, I don't give a crap what people think, as long as I am doing things in a way that is glorifying to God, right? Or is respectful to those around me. Shoot, I just want to shine a spotlight on people all the time who are doing it great. And if I'm shining that spotlight, and if I'm lifting up people who are doing it great, then our community is only going to grow better. If I'm only shining a light on the negativity, what does that do? And
it breeds more negativity.
Yes. And I don't want to be a jealous person. It is innate in our systems to be that, and you have to fight against it. And it is, like you said, freeing. It's not my burden to carry for somebody to be that way. And it is sad when you see it. But I hope that, I don't know, through conversations or through meeting and all of that it can change. And I do hope for change. And I hope that we can continue to grow as women in our community and men, that you can kind of get out of that, well, I'm not like her, or I'm not like him, or I don't want to be, or they only got there because of blah, blah, blah. Well, that's why storytelling is so important, because I can sit here and make a judgment call on somebody all day long, but I don't know their story. I don't know where they've come from. And that is very shallow of me if I thought that way without knowing who they are. And we're not called to judge. We're called to hold accountable, but not to judge. And and there's a difference. And so I hope that we can continue to shine that light on the good and on the positive so
Yeah.
that we can change the minds of anti-hunters and we can bring non-hunters over to the side of support if they don't want to hunt, and do it in a way that is good. And yeah, I love how you said that. So thank you for saying that. It's truth. All of it is truth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think like too, I'm really passionate about this subject because I've been through it myself, and I feel like I'm, for the most part, on the other side. You know, sometimes the devil has like a funny way of like sneaking in and trying to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
make you feel jealous or whatever like that. But I just think it's so important for myself, and, you know, I tell this to my friends and stuff too, like, do not contribute to the negativity. I've seen a lot of things where, you know, somebody calls somebody out on social media for something really stupid. And then, you know, stories circulate or posts circulate or people are talking about other people. And I've been sent a few, you know, posts that were like, hey, reshare this. I'm like, absolutely not.
No.
Whether it's true or not true, like, this is divisive, and it is not constructive. Like, if you have a problem, go confront the person privately. Like,
well, and there's a difference between the petty little things, right, and poaching. They're like illegal things, and there's a fine line on reposting and I don't do that, but I do find it important to divide hunters from poachers. There's a huge difference in that. Yeah. But the petty little things, dadgummit, I just wish that we could get past that. It's like middle school. Like, just get past the petty little things, and because that's going to distract from the important things that need to be dealt with.
Yeah. No, I'm on the same page as you 100%.
Yeah.
If somebody does something that risks my ability to continue doing this lifestyle for the rest of my life, like, I'm not afraid to talk about it.
It needs to be put out there. Yeah. I do want to hear.
Some, like, petty drama, I'm like, you know, leave that.
Yeah.
Leave the petty drama. Like, that's not for the internet.
No, it's not. Well, what have you got coming up that we can follow? You've got a hunt. You said you're leaving later this week. What is it? Elk or deer? Yeah.
So basically, I'll just kind of fill everybody in on what's happened over the last month. My husband and I were supposed to be hunting pretty much the entire month of September for primarily elk, but there's also deer and bears in the area that we hunt as well. And anyways, my 7-month-old puppy ended up having to have emergency surgery for an intussusception, which most people won't know what that means unless you're in the medical field, but
it's very dangerous.
Pretty major surgery, and she's been recovering for like the last 3 weeks now. So we pretty much had to take the first 3 weeks off of the season. We got to hunt 2 days, and my husband made an amazing stalk on an elk that we bedded down and got within 75 yards, but just didn't have a shooting lane. And then we had to come back home, and he actually just left yesterday to go up and hunt for a few days. Remy, our little puppy, she gets her stitches and staples out on Thursday. So I stayed back with the dogs, and I will help her get her staples out and stuff on Thursday. And then we're all going to head up and join my husband for a couple weeks to hopefully finish out the elk season. And then we kind of just made the executive decision to hunt the rut with our rifles for mule deer this fall.
Yes.
So our original game plan was to basically harvest all of our tags with our bows, but plans changed a little bit. And
you got to be flexible. Yeah.
Yep. So hopefully we can both find a an elk to shoot. Honestly, at this point, I'd be open to shooting a cow or a spike or honestly whatever. But the area that we hunt has a lot of really good branch antler bulls. So really anything is in the mix, anything's in the cards, and I'm excited. So.
I'm excited too. I'm excited to follow along. I'm glad that she's doing better. And I know that it was really scary there for a little bit. So I'm glad she's doing better. I'm excited to hear about the hunt and see how it goes. And we wish you the best of luck. I hope that everything turns out good and y'all can fill your freezers and have great hunts to talk about. I love how you just said that your husband had a great stock on a bull and there's just no shooting lane. We don't talk about that as often, right? We don't talk about the hunts that we walk away from without something. And I think it's important to talk about those, to talk about the decision to not take a shot and to take a step back and to not do it when it's not available instead of pushing through for the gram or for social media and making a bad shot. And I think that should be celebrated more. So I'm glad that you brought that up. It's good.
Yeah, no, we're actually going to be doing some educational videos throughout the season as well. And we'll probably end up posting them after the season. But yeah, there's a really cool story about that stock that he made. And you guys will have to follow along so that you guys can watch it and hopefully learn from it, because we learned so much from that just one stock. So,
well, and that's all about you live it, you learn from it, and then you pass it on so other people can learn as well. So, that's all about our community. That's what we do. And it's not to boast. It's not to throw out this and that. It's hopefully that, I'd want to learn from it so I don't make the same mistake, or that I can learn from it to do something better. And I think that's why storytelling is so important. It's so important, whether it's visual or verbal. It passes on the things that you might not necessarily have access to. So great job, you two.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, it's been so fun. I can't believe it's already been an hour.
I know it, right? I do want people to tell everybody how they can follow you and how they can find these videos.
Yeah, for sure. So honestly, I would say I'm most active on on Instagram, social media. Most active on Instagram, and my handle is Maranda.Hough. It's kind of a weird spelling, so I can spell it out too, unless you're going to put it in the comments or something.
I will, but it's Hough.
Yes. And then my first name is Maranda. So.
Yep. Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much. And guys, go follow Maranda and catch what they've got in store for us. And I hope Remy stays good and healed and that she's ready to have those staples out soon.
Thank you so much.